will give you details about the signal processing techniques that start from the fixed basis functions to adaptive basis functions. Then we will see their applications for schizophrenia diagnosis and brain computer interface. So this framework actually will present to you methods which uses signal processing machine learning for classification of EEG signals. So the main purpose of this talk is to provide you background, develop new methods which you can explore in speech processing, especially for BCI application, brain computer interfacing. So sometimes you are not able to speak, but one can imagine it. And like if you were not able to speak A, you just imagine A, then due to this imagination, and then actually EEG signal will be recorded. And then same time, other time, if you want to speak E, then actually you can record EEG signal corresponding to E when you are imagining E. So this classification of EEG signals plays a very important role in BCI applications where people have disability, they are not able to speak. So these methods, whatever actually we'll see this talk, they can be studied in this direction. But in this talk, we'll see the signal processing techniques, multi-channel signal processing techniques that actually suitable for the classification of EEG signals, and then you can explore them for BCI application based on the speech imagination. So with this background, let us start this talk. Let me share my slides. Are you able to see the slides? Dr.
Yes, sir, is visible.
Okay. So title of this talk is multi-channel non-stationary signal processing for EEG classification with imagined speech-based BCI. So this actually the first part will be explained, and later you can actually you can explore this for imagined speech-based BCI. So the overview of this talk is as follows. First, we will see transform. Then we will see the Fourier transform. Then motivation for time frequency representation, iterative filtering, multivariate filtering. Then we will see how this multivariate filtering works. And we will see these two applications, detection of schizophrenia from EEG signals. And then second application, motor imagery, brain computer interfacing. So that is actually, this is like hand movement based BCI, but instead of that, one can actually imagine like what kind of word they are speaking. So both actually methods like schizophrenia diagnosis, one can have it normal and abnormal, like Parkinson's disease speech, normal speech, and nicely with these methods you can classify. So actually you will learn some methods which can be used for the analysis and classification of speech with disorders, normal and abnormal speech, as well as brain computer interfacing applications. So in the end, conclusion will be provided. So transform actually is a mathematical operation that takes a function or sequence from one domain and it maps it into another domain. So the commonly used domains are time domain and frequency domain. So like by using transform, one can go from time domain to frequency domain, and by doing some suitable processing, one can back from frequency domain to time domain. So there are actually many advantages in the signal processing based on the transform. Like even it is difficult to find any area of science and technology where you will not find transforms. So there are many applications, but here we will highlight few of them. So the first application, this transform provides written information about the original function of the signal. So like what are the frequencies present in the signal, which frequency is the major frequency, which frequency is the minor frequency, which frequency is corresponding to signal, which frequency is corresponding to disease, which frequency is corresponding to abnormality. All these actually information can be obtained from the transform. And transform help us to solve the differential equation. So like when you see the speech is actually output of the vocal tract. And this vocal tract can be considered as a linear system, and where you can use differential equation to represent that system. So when you use differential equation, they have actually low order, then it is easy to solve by the conventional method. But when these differential equations, they have high order, then and it happens in practical situation, real life scenario. So in such cases, actually transforms are very useful to solve the differential equation. So actually we apply transformation, and nicely it can be solved. And we can understand about the signals and systems. Transform provide data compression and storage may require less memory. So in the transformation, actually we use basis functions to represent the signal. And these basis functions, actually, they should have structure similarity with the signal that you want to analyze. So if you somehow, if you are able to have such kind of basis functions, then actually, as a result, the number of coefficients will be less, and they can be stored in less memory. So the data compression can be carried out. And last advantage, that is actually very important advantage, that many operations actually may be easier to apply in the transform domain. So for example, convolution operation LTI system. So when you assume this convolution when you are performing, then we assume causality of the system. So here actually a transform help us to take in such a domain there is no time. So like when you see signal processing in broad manner, there are three independent forces: time, frequency, and scale. Whatever is happening in this world, it has connection with time, and whatever we see, it has connection with scale, and whatever we listen, it has connection with frequency. So if you are going in such a domain, there is no time, then actually you can do a lot of signal processing without actually depending on the time. So these are the few advantages. And the first transform that actually in signal processing that was given by the Joseph Fourier, that is actually formal signal transform. And Joseph Fourier actually, he was from France, and he was very poor. His father was tailor by profession, not mathematician, tailor. And when he was 4 years old, his parents died. Some books, some literature says 8 years old. And actually he was very poor, and he used to work in hostel. And those old time, there was no electricity like today we have. And the students used to use candles for study purpose. And they used to throw remaining part of the candles after this study. And Fourier actually used to collect these small pieces of the candles in the daytime and used to make a big candle. When night everybody was sleeping, Fourier used to study. And that same Fourier actually, he joined the French army, and the French army got an opportunity to go to Ecole Polytechnique, and where he actually he worked on the prism. He was from physics background, and he observed that this white light can be decomposed into 7 colors, 7 components. And if this white light can be decomposed into simple components, colors, then why we cannot decompose this complicated signal in terms of simple functions, simple signals? And based on that, actually, he represented these complicated signals in terms of sinusoidal functions. And that you see in speech processing, biomedical signal processing, non-state signal processing. We use there is no transform which we understand without Fourier. So the same Fourier actually, he was appointed as a scientific advisor of Napoleon. Then people asked him, earlier you were son of Taylor, now you are scientific advisor of Napoleon, how do you feel? Then this actually Fourier says, I am Sam Fourier, this is just a matter of time. So he understood actually importance of time in such a manner where he represented this complicated signal in terms of simple functions. And nicely, these actually functions easily can be understood. So this 1807, that actually work was done by the Fourier. And according to that, all periodic functions can be represented as sum of trigonometric functions multiplied by coefficients. Then his student Dirichlet says not all functions, but the functions which satisfy Dirichlet conditions can be represented by the Fourier transform. And this work was actually submitted for publication. And this Lagrange, Legendre, and Laplace, they were actually appointed as a reviewer. And Lagrange is well known for Lagrange multiplier, Legendre is well known for Legendre polynomials, and Laplace is well known for Laplace transform. So these people were actually very popular professors of that time. Even Laplace was the teacher of Fourier. Laplace taught Fourier. So this actually, these people, these researchers did not actually accept the work of the Fourier due to following reasons. Like Fourier was actually representing this complex signal. Real life signals are real, but he was using complex basis functions to represent them. And also in this world there is no negative time, negative frequency, and he was using such mathematical model which requires use of negative time and negative frequency. And in this actually nature, it is very difficult to find any periodic signal. And Fourier was using actually periodic functions to represent aperiodic functions. So due to all these problems, his work was not accepted. Then after 15 years, actually, these reviewers realized that Fourier has done actually very great work, and he thought about the signal representation in complex domain. So this complex plane, actually real plane is the subset of the complex plane. So that is actually finally 1822 Fourier work was published. Then up to many years there was no work in the signal processing, and after 1965 the Scully and Tukey, they developed fast Fourier transform FFT, and that is actually people wanted to implement signal processing in the machines, computers, and that was actually beginning of the machine-based implementation of the signal processing algorithms. So Fourier transform, if you see that this complicated signal can be represented in terms of simple functions, and these basis functions are sinusoidal functions, and this can be represented as this can be considered like a bridge between time domain and frequency domain. And time to frequency domain, we can go by analysis, and similarly frequency domain to time domain, we go by synthesis process. So analysis, we are integrating this time from minus infinite to plus infinite, so there is no time in the frequency domain. In the synthesis process, we are integrating frequency from minus infinite to plus infinite, so there is no frequency in the time domain. So time domain and frequency domain both are actually mutually exclusive. So that actually, if you see the signals when you classify signals, there are many types of classifications, but one of the important classification is stationary and non-stationary signal. So like we use mathematical models to represent the signal. If any of the parameter is changing with time, then we call them non-stationary signal. If all parameters are constant with respect to time, then we call them stationary signal. So that actually, if you apply Fourier transform for stationary signals, it works well, because stationary signal doesn't have time varying parameter. On the other hand, if you apply this Fourier transform for analysis of non-stationary signals, then since parameters vary with time and there is no time information in the Fourier transform, so this doesn't give that time information. So non-stationary signals, we need to have time localization of frequency components. So this is one example here. You can see this time domain. First one is stationary signal, and second one is non-stationary signal. And when you see the frequency domain, then actually that is same for stationary signal as well as non-stationary signal. So this is actually one of the major limitations of the Fourier transform, because both signals are different in time domain, but your frequency domain is actually coming out to be same. So we want to have actually such kind of representation which is unique for both stationary signals as well as non-stationary signal. So this is happening due to this sinusoidal functions. They are used as a basis function Fourier transform. They exist from minus infinite to plus infinite. They have infinite duration, so there is no time localization. Resolution, concentration, focus, that is actually proportional to 1 upon spread. So this basis functions, they have infinite spread in time domain. So due to that, actually resolution is 0. So this actually motivates to come up with the such kind of representation where this frequencies are time varying, or time frequency representation. So that is actually beginning of the idea of time frequency representation. We want to have frequency domain together with time domain, so that then frequency will also vary with respect to time. That also will be highlighted by that domain. So that is actually concept of time frequency representation. So the first time frequency representation in the literature that was proposed, that was short time Fourier transform STFT. So what we do actually, we divide this non-stationary signal into different segments, and each segment we assume that signal is stationary. Then actually we apply Fourier transform, and arrangement of this Fourier transform gives us short time Fourier transform STFT. And that you can see mathematical expression of the STFT. So Xt is the signal that we want to analyze, Wt is the window function, and since here T dash is shifting parameter omega, so this you can shift signal in time domain with the help of this parameter, and you can shift signal in the frequency domain. So that actually basis function, whatever we use in STFT, that is actually time frequency basis function. So this is now time frequency basis function. So you are representing signal in terms of the basis function which are time shifted and frequency shifted. So left hand side you can see this STFT, that is actually function of time and frequency. So it actually maps signal from time domain to time frequency domain. And HTFT is a complex quantity. So for representation purpose, we actually use a square magnitude of the HTFT, that is known as spectrogram. And here you can see this Gaber suggested use of Gaussian window for this HTFT. So once you use this Gaussian window in the HTFT expression, then this is known as Gaber transform. So this actually Gaussian window is the optimum window till today. If you take the time domain Gaussian, then actually is also Gaussian in frequency domain. So this is one example of the speech signal when you speak at MATLAB. And luckily, it also used actually the simulation results also have been carried out in the MATLAB. So like a speech signal when you speak MATLAB, this time domain signal looks like this, and this is actually a narrowband spectrogram, that is wideband spectrogram. Narrowband spectrogram means time domain analysis window is wide, and wideband spectrogram means time domain analysis window is narrow. So wideband spectrogram gives you poor frequency resolution, narrowband spectrogram gives you good frequency resolution. And same you can see in chirp signal, linear chirp signal, its frequency changing with time, that actually, so it gives you a time varying frequency pattern. So it is not like a Fourier transform. And if it is stationary signal, then it will show the constant frequency with at all time points. So actually depends on the requirement, and this narrow band and wide band actually can be preferred anyone, either one according to your requirement. Then the shortcomings of the HTFT. So what we are doing actually, HTFT gives you time information by computing Fourier transform of the segment signal using sliding window function. And how to select type and size of the window, no rule. So wide analysis window gives poor time resolution and good frequency resolution. Narrow analysis window gives good time resolution and poor frequency resolution. So that is the problem. And the major problem is actually window size is fixed. You don't have flexibility to change the window size. So that is actually like if signal is low frequency or signal is high frequency, for both cases your window is fixed. So that is why we call it fixed resolution transform. So there are many window functions like Whiteley window, Blackman window, Bowman window, Chebyshev window, Hamming window, Henning window, Kaiser window, rectangular window, triangular window, Gaussian window. And that you can see is one example like Gaussian window in time domain, and frequency domain it also looks like Gaussian. So this window size in time domain and frequency domain, they are actually associated with the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So like duration of the signal and bandwidth of the signal, you cannot minimize both of them. So if you are minimizing duration, then bandwidth will increase. And on the other hand, if you are minimizing bandwidth, then duration will increase. So this because both product or both parameter, duration and bandwidth actually is greater than equals to 1/4 pi. So equality is actually only for Gaussian function and equality for other functions. So this is actually not due to mathematical, due to limitation of our method. This happens due to actually nature. Nature has imposed this kind of resolution problem. So that is constraint. So in order to have this multi-resolution analysis, so like that flexible wave windows in HTFT, that wavelet actually was proposed in the literature. So wavelet is a waveform of limited duration that has a mean value of 0. And here, if you compare this wavelet with the sinusoidal functions, then actually, based on the selection of the scale parameter, you can have window like impulse also and window like sinusoidal function also. So that is actually you can have flexible window. So when you have high frequency component, then window size can be reduced. It can be low short analysis window. If you have low frequency component, then you can have wide analysis window. So depends on the frequency component, one can actually select the scale, and that is actually very important part. And this is one example, like selection of the spoon depends on the type of food. And similarly, like we want to have fork, then we can use noodle. Like if you want to have noodles, then we use fork, because the food is discontinuous and the spoon is also discontinuous. So that actually like the selection of the spoon depends on the type of food, and that actually. I'm sorry. I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is similarly actually in the signal depends on the frequency. We can actually use the scale. So like if your frequency is low, then we use large scale, and your frequency is higher, then we use lower scale. So that actually, according to that, you can design a window function that is the wavelet. So similarly, like when you go for like going restaurant, there are different kind of foods are available, and different skills are required for different type of food. Similarly, different skills are required for the different frequency component present in the signal. So it resolves the fixed resolution problem of STFT by using a variable size of the window. And already you have seen like we can perform analysis of windows of different scales are used for different frequencies. So if you use low scale, then it gives you narrow analysis window that is suitable for high frequency and gives you good time resolution, poor frequency resolution. Similarly, if you large scale, that gives you wide analysis window, and that is actually suitable for low frequencies and provides you good frequency resolution and poor time resolution. So this continuous wavelet transform is suitable for such signals which consist both low and high frequency components. And mathematical expression here you can see that this xt the signal that you want to analyze, it is the mother wavelet, and tau s is shifting parameter, s is the scale. So 1 by under root s, that is a normalization factor. So 1 by under root s and this I t minus tau by s, this entire term actually is known as mother wavelet. So the mother wavelet energy is similar to the energy of the wavelet. Daughter wavelets. When you say this 1 by under root and normalization factor together with this I t minus tau by s, then it is known as daughter wavelet. And side is mother wavelet. So each daughter wavelet has energy like mother wavelet. So each daughter wavelet also can be used as a mother wavelet. So that way, actually, you have very general library, and that can be used for the signal representation, signal analysis. And this scale is actually proportional to 1 upon frequency. So that is actually this scale can be converted into frequency, so that you can have actually time frequency representation using this wavelet transform. So this is the history of this methods like signal decomposition. So Shannon actually he represented signal in terms of impulses which are well localized in time domain, and Fourier represented signal in terms of impulses which are well localized in frequency domain. So that is actually so Fourier is known as the Newton of France because he, without knowing sampling of the signal in time domain, which was suggested by the Shannon, he represented signal in terms of impulses in the frequency domain. And Geber represented actually in terms of the basis functions which have actually fixed resolution. So like fixed resolution tiles are there. That is actually Geber represented signal in terms of this fixed. And then in wavelet, this whatever frame you see, that actually has multi-resolution nature. So like at any point of time, you have actually like low scale, you have good time resolution, poor scale, you have poor time resolution, like that. So the different actually skills give you different resolutions, but at any point of time. So at any point of time, we are using actually all possible scales. So we believe that at least one scale will match with our requirement, and that actually that scale we select. So that is known as multi-resolution analysis. So this is one example of when you see speech signal MATLAB, and that actually then there are two scalograms. So like in wavelet transform, similarly like in short time Fourier transform, we use square magnitude of the STFT, that is known as spectrogram, and here we use square magnitude of the continuous wavelet transform, that is known as scalogram. So here when you use wavelet bump Morse, then actually you can see these two actually scalograms, and that is actually like for the speech. And here also we don't know which mother wavelet should be used and how many scales are required for the representation. And luckily this wavelet transform is also actually implemented with the help of discrete wavelet transform, with the help of finite number of scales, dyadic structure that filters, we take signal, and then we give this input to low pass filter, high pass filter, down sample by 2 each outcome. or output. Then actually we have approximation data. Then again further approximation can be decomposed, detail can be decomposed. So in that process also, there is no thumb rule which will suggest that how many number of levels are required to decompose the signal. So due to all these things, that actually now new area of research has come, and now signal processing has turned towards new direction. So like here, like whatever we have seen in the previous Fourier transform, short time Fourier transform, and wavelet transform, there whatever basis functions actually we use, they be defined from our side, so that they are fixed basis functions. Now researcher says research like basis function you don't need to design. On the other hand, they should be extracted from the signal itself. So we call them adaptive basis function, and they are opted by the data-driven techniques. So representing like why we need signal decomposition, because in real life like speech, brain waves, ECG, whatever signal you have, it has a lot of information, but we don't know what information it is carrying. So one of the easy way is to represent this signal in terms of simple functions. So these simple functions, like then you represent this unknown problem in terms of non-problems, non-functions. And these non-functions, one approach is fixed basis function, like Fourier transform, Euler transform, etc. Now other approach is adaptive basis function, like empirical mode decomposition, empirical wavelet transform. So here you don't need to design basis function from your side. On the other hand, actually we obtain these basis functions from the signal itself by using algorithm. So the you already seen the, like this is stacy signal, this is non-stacy signal, and in both cases spectrum is coming out to be same. So we want to have different spectrum. So they're motivated by that. In the literature, people suggested use of such kind of basis function for narrowband AM/FM signal, amplitude and frequency modulated. So instead of sinusoidal, let us have time varying amplitude, time varying frequency, which results AM/FM signal that is suitable for narrowband signal. And when you combine all of them together, such kind of narrowband signal, then we can represent wideband signal, and that is known as univariate modulated oscillation. Now this can be generalized in multi-component, like multivariate case. So n-variate monocomponent signals, you can see this signal, and each element has AM/FM signal. And this multivariate multi-component signal, then here each element is multi-component AM/FM signal. So each component, each channel is wideband signal. And on the other hand, this very monocomponent signal, each channel is narrowband signal. This is wideband. So this is more general model, and that we are going to consider. So actually, now in speech also people are using multi-channel signal processing. So when you show recording one signal, you can have multiple microphones, and then you can record multi-channel speech signal, and then you can process in this way. So suppose when you are having multiple outcomes, multiple signals, if you have seen in the like acoustic echo cancellation. So we have multiple outcomes, multiple measurements. So this is the mathematical model which is suitable for such kind of scenario. And what is the motivation for adaptive signal decomposition? You will find in real life there are many situations where actually people use multiple sensors. So now the development of this, there is a lot of progress in the sensing technology. So earlier there used to be sensors which can record only univariate data. Now there is actually multi-channel data can be recorded with the multi-channel sensors. So this is one of the first one, that is actually machinery fault diagnosis. So here we put 2-3 sensors, so we can record 2-3 channels at signals at a time. Second one is recording of EEG signal electroencephalogram, and a number of electrodes you can see in this brain. This cap, electrode cap, determine the number of channels in the multi-channel data. So that is actually like BCI based on the speech imagination. If you want to study, then this whatever methods we have present are very useful. And there's ECG based, like ECG recording. So we put a number of leads on the chest, and which determine the number of channels in the multi-channel data. So if you analyze this data individually, separately, not combining them, not joint analysis, not performing joint analysis, then we are ignoring actually the mutual information between the channels. And also we are actually ignoring the correlation between the channels. So due to that, actually there is a lot of interest in the literature to use multi-channel signal processing such scenario when you have multi-channel data, and also adaptive signal decomposition technique, which you have seen in the previous slide, that is actually data dependent techniques. So each channel, if you apply, then actually it will give you the different number of components, different number of intensive mode functions, IMFs. So the purpose is actually when you have used some applications like Parkinson's disease, then each channel will have different number of components. So this is actually problematic. So in order to have mode alignment property, it is necessary to use multi-channel, actually a multivariate approach, so that each channel will have same number of components. So this is the motivation. And empirical mode decomposition, that is actually one of the method which was proposed in 1998, that actually changed the direction of the research. Year 1998, before that we used to design basis functions from our side. Now we are coming with such methods where we don't need to design basis functions. These basis functions will be actually obtained from the signal itself. So here you can see this is a signal we want to analyze. Then we detect maxima and we detect minima. Then we interpolate maxima, interpolate minima, and then take average of these two envelopes. And then we subtract from the signal so that we get detail. And this detail or residual actually it needs to satisfy two basic conditions. So first condition says that the number of extrema and number of zero crossings should be differ at most by 1. So this condition ensures that whatever IMF you are obtaining, this is like sine cosine function, and average value of this residual, that is actually is to be 0. So this means that whatever IMF you are obtaining, that is symmetric in nature. So that is actually these two conditions are satisfied by IMF. So first, once this IMF is satisfying these two conditions, then we separate it out, and then we actually subtract that IMF from the signal for second, and get the residual for second IMF. Then again, we asked detailed residual to satisfy these conditions. Once it's satisfied, then it is second IMF. So in that way, actually, it's all IMFs like obtained from the signal. And here you can see the first IMF, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. The first IMF, that is actually highest frequency component, which is also corresponding lowest scale of the data, that is known as detail. And eighth IMF, that is the lowest frequency and largest scale of the data, which is known as approximation. So Professor Patrick Flandre and his team from France, they have shown that this actually the composition which we have obtained using EMD process, which is also similar to the wavelet decomposition. So without designing wavelets, without designing actually knowing the number of levels, one can actually obtain the decomposition, and that is adaptive in nature, data dependent. And based on this, various approaches for multivariate developed, like complex EMD, rotation invariant complex EMD, bivariate EMD, multivariate EMD, fast MEMD. And one of the major problem with this EMD method, that actually it is empirical in nature, it's just algorithmic, there is no mathematical formula. And also, sometimes it has mode mixing problem. So like here you can see, when you see the one scale, it has actually two frequency components. Two scales are mixed in one mode. So that is mode mixing problem. So due to that, actually, there is a lot of interest in the literature inspired by the EMD process. And they actually, they want to develop various actually methods similar to EMD, so they have nice theoretical framework. So many methods, such methods have been developed in the literature, like empirical wavelet transform, Fourier Bessel series expansion based empirical wavelet transform, and iterative filtering. And that actually these methods, they have nice mathematical framework, and you can apply such methods in speech. They are very new and nice actually. You can come up with a nice methodologies, and which may be like suitable for the selecting very nice features of your data, because you don't need to design basis functions forcefully. You don't represent data in terms of basis functions. Here, basis functions come out from the signal itself. So iterative filtering technique, which actually which gives you mathematical framework, and it's similar to EMD method, but this mode mixing problem is removed, and also there is theoretical framework. So it subtract out the selective part of the spectrum to extract the mode one by one iteratively. So we have this filter length. L depends on the alpha, beta, and upon k. K is the number of extrema. So if n like extremas are less, then filter length is actually higher. So cutoff frequency is proportional to 1 upon L. So cutoff frequency will be lower. So if your lower frequency, cutoff frequency lower, high frequency, cutoff frequency will be higher. So automatically this maximum minima will decide the cutoff frequency. So once you have cutoff frequency, then according to that you can design the filter and you subtract from the signal, then residual. And then if you do this reasonable number of times, then actually you can get the first IMF. And then once you have first IMF, then you subtract this first IMF from the signal, then you have residual, then we repeat this a reasonable number of times, then you get the second IMF. Then first IMF, second IMF, you subtract from the signal, then you will get actually residual. And again, actually, so you do this many times, then actually you will get all possible IMFs from the signal. And this is actually example here you can see this signal has 3 IMFs in the frequency domain. They are shown just for simplicity or just to understand it well. Now this is the design filter based on the maximum minima, and now filtered signal actually subtracted from this. So your first IMF is subtracted from this signal, then you have residual, then you design filter and subtracted filtered signal subtracted from this, then you have second IMF. So first IMF, second IMF, both are subtracted from the this signal, then you have residual. So residual itself become third IMF. So this is actually this is now in that way you can separate out all these 3 IMFs. So this is, it works nicely for single channel data when you have only one channel, one time series. Suppose you have multi-channel data, then problem each channel will actually have different number of IMFs. So that is problematic. So here you can see. So each channel will have different number of maximas, different filter length, and then filter in different residual, and then separated IMFs will be different in numbers. So in order to overcome this problem, we have suggested multivariate iterative filtering, where you take multi-channel data, then find the number of extrema for each channel and find the maximum one of that. And according to maximum of this extremas, you design the filter, find out the filter length. Filter length actually, then you determine cutoff frequency. Then there's design filter, filtered signal will be subtracted from the signal. Then you have residual, and then there are 2 set conditions. First condition says as stopping criteria 1 that threshold actually if it is coming to 0, then you stop it because the signal is very big. And second criteria is number of extrema less than 3. This means there is no oscillatory nature of the data. Then actually you can stop it. So in that way, you have multivariate indicing mode functions, and then actually that is this mode alignment property is preserved. So this is one example how this multivariate filtering works for bivariate data. So you have actually 2 channel data here. So first channel has 2 IMF, second channel has 1 IMF. Now this is the design filter for the first channel, design filter for second channel, and take the maximum of both. So that is the maximum that is common for both channels, and then you filtered signal will be subtracted from this. So you have first IMF, then first IMF is subtracted from this signal, then you have residual. The design 2 filters for each channel and take the maximum one, so which will be common for both channels, and then you subtract this from the filtered part from the residual. Then you have the second IMF. First IMF, second IMF you subtract from the signal, then you have residual. Residual itself will become third IMF. So now actually after this we have shown this multivariate filtering actually 2 applications. So one is actually for schizophrenia detection using this multi-channel EEG, and second one is motor imaginary brain computer interfacing BCI. So this EEG, electroencephalogram, the electrical activity of the brain recorded using electrodes placed on the scalp, non-invasive. And many applications, this EEG also actually acquired invasively. That is intracranial EEG, we call them. And like focal epilepsy case, they made by like a region where epileptic seizures are always generated. So that 85% cases, this actually that focal epilepsy, drug resistant epilepsy. So for that actually we need to do surgery, and signals are recorded from the inside of the brain. They need to have high signal to noise ratio. So it depends on the application, but the schizophrenia and BCI, we can do non-invasive also. Depends on the application. So here in this work, we have studied only non-invasive EEG signals. So if you see the human brain, there are four chambers. These are the frontal lobe and the parietal lobe and occipital lobe and temporal lobe. So this is not 10 chambers, it's lobes. Four lobes are there in the brain, and these four regions, they are actually directly or indirectly connected with the activities which is done by the person. So whatever indirectly, directly you do, it has connection with the any one of the region of the brain. So now how to measure this electrical activity of these regions of the brain? So for that, actually we use electrode cap and that international standard which has done 20 system. So here you can see the electrodes are actually arranged in such a manner. So if you put on the electrode cap on the person's this head, human brain, then actually it can measure the electric activity from the different regions, different lobes. So for an example, this two-channel EEG signal can be seen. And this is just for an example, it can be 256, it can be 128, it can be 64. And now in this talk, actually, we are considering this multi-channel EEG signals for analysis and classification. And now suppose you have this BCI problem, like speech imagined BCI. So you can imagine something, then you record EEG signals. So these recorded signals will be multi-channel. So such kind of framework actually can be studied for speech imaging based BCI systems. So here in this work, we will see two applications: schizophrenia detection using multi-channel EEG and motor imagery brain-computer interface (BCI). So schizophrenia actually is a very serious disease, and that is actually EEG signals are used to detect schizophrenia, and it affects around 20 million people worldwide and 1% of world population, and more than 1 million people actually in India. They are suffering from this. Is very serious disease, and if you have seen there is one nice movie on the schizophrenia, that is Beautiful Mind, and that Professor John Ness is a mathematician, and he's suffering from schizophrenia disease. And he has, if you see this, in this movie, he has shown how much actually struggle life is very tough for a schizophrenia patient. And they develop their own thinking process. Like he was not, when he was at Princeton University, he was in a hostel and there was no roommate. But Charles was there, Charles' name, the person who was the roommate of the John Ness. But there was no roommate. So he made actually such imagined people, and they never exist. And there was one person, that is William. William was actually representative of this Russian agents. And that sometimes when he's teaching the class, actually, then people are attacking on him. He's feeling like that. He's going away from the class, but nothing is happening. So he has made his own thinking process. And Charles actually introduced him his niece, and that actually so all these three persons were imagined. Nobody was actually existing, and this professor John has actually developed such kind of thinking process, so that actually these people were existing, but they were not existing. And in the end, this professor actually got Nobel Prize. And later, actually, if you see this movie, it shows the schizophrenia, how actually they detected that professor has schizophrenia disease. And later, actually, professor himself understood that actually he has schizophrenia, because he was not finding any change in these people. From last many years, he was observing they always used to look like same. So that he understood this is due to brain disorder. So if you see actually this disease, there are like hallucinations. Sometimes you listen such sounds which don't listen sounds. You see such things that are not existing, and you actually make your own thinking process. And that is you think that is not happening. So that is actually a very serious disease, and lack of initiative, reduced speech. These are the disorganized speech. Sometimes unquoted speech, you are saying something, and so in the middle something different is coming. So these all are the symptoms of schizophrenia. And we have proposed schizophrenia detection from UG, and this is the proposed actually block diagram of the proposed method. So we have multi-channel EEG signal. We segmented it. We want to actually study our proposed method with the less amount of the data. So because in medical domain, if you are able to perform diagnosis with the less amount of the data, then it is good for the patients as well as good for the real-time processing of the data. And whatever device you are proposing that is suitable for real-time implementation. So then we pre-processing. Sometimes there is some components, some signals that is not well behaved. It has some unwanted actually components. They need to be removed. So pre-processing that. Then we applied multi-channel iterative filtering for analysis, and then for M channels, each channel will give you a number of modes. Then from the each mode, actually this end we separate the rhythm delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma. And then actually these rhythms, we extract the features from these EEG rhythms. Then these features are given as input to classify, and then actually automatically it classifies into this EEG signal into healthy or schizophrenic clusters. So for this EEG database, we have used publicly available schizophrenia database from Institute of Psychiatry and Neurology, Warsaw, Poland. And for this study, the schizophrenia EEG, actually it is recorded from the 14 patients. Out of that, 7 males and 7 females. And healthy EEG, there are 14 actually subjects, 7 males and 7 females. And these EEG signals are recorded from 19 channels. And that sampling rate is actually 250 hertz, and duration is 15 minutes approximately. So here now you can see this actually when you decompose this, you have 3 channel EEG data. Then for the second, third, and fourth IMF, that you can see these actually they are bringing same frequency component from the each channel. So that is mode alignment properties present. So that is clear. It is more clear from the spectrum representation on the right hand side. So this you can see the spectrum representative of the second multivariate transient mode functions, and that for all of the channels they are showing the same frequency. So that is actually that is clear from the power spectral density of this rhythm of these IMFs, second, third, and fourth. Then we have suggested actually rhythm separation using this multi-channel EEG data, actually multivariate transient mode functions. Then we have computed mean frequency. And these are the actually like delta rhythm. It has covers 0.1 to 4 hertz frequency range. Theta it covers 4 to 8 hertz frequency range. Alpha 8 to 13 hertz frequency range. Beta 13 to 30 hertz frequency range, and gamma 30 to 100 hertz frequency range. So actually these rhythms they are very defined actually a very long time ago by the Berger. And Berger actually this EEG invention itself is a very inspiring story. And when this Berger was Berger was part of the German army, and he was fighting actually. He was a horse rider, and when he was fighting for battle for his country, then actually he fell down from the horse, and he got a lot of injuries. And his sister, she was many kilometers away from that place, and she came to know that her brother fell down and they got injuries. And then actually this family member parent they sent telegram, and later actually Berger confirmed the same. So this Berger also surprised how his sisters came to know that he got injuries. Then based on that, after retirement from the German army, he started doing research on EEG signals, and he believed that his brain was communicating with sister's brain, but later he got invented this EEG and says brain was not communicating with sister's brain. It was just like telepathy, and EEG was invented. And he has defined rhythms based on this frequency range. And after that, so here actually we have defined such rhythms maybe for the first time in the literature, delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma. They are multi-channel actually rhythms, multi-channels, delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma, and they're different channels actually they have. So now each delta rhythm will have one rhythm from this FZ channel, CZ, PZ. So this multi-channel rhythms can be actually explored for this BCI application based on the speech images. So here you can see now for a multivariate intensive mode function, we compute the mean frequency, and this mean frequency computed using this formula. And if it is coming out in this range 0.1 hertz to 4 hertz, then actually we include that mean frequency as a summation of this term. So that delta rhythm, theta, alpha, beta, gamma, different rhythms can be obtained by combining such IMFs which belong to this actually, whose mean frequency belong to this range. So in that way, we resolve actually these EEG rhythms. They are separated out, and then actually we have extracted a set of features, and these Hazzard features they were actually studied for BCI application, BCI, but nobody tried for schizophrenia direction. So this Hazzard activity, Hazzard mobility, Hazzard complexity, you can see their mathematical expressions. And so total features corresponding to a trial, if you see the number of channels, EEG rhythms, the parameters, they come out to be 285. So that is actually, and according to parsimony principle, we should not have a number of features more than the required one. So we need to actually reduce it. So we have used student t-test, and based 30 features have been selected out of 285 features. So you can see the most significant 10 features even in the student t-test. And this is just an example, and healthy schizophrenia, this probability value, t values. And you can see from this for the 10 features, but we have used 30 features. They are more discriminative. Like these features for healthy schizophrenia cases, they represent actually different range of values. So this means that discriminative in nature. So it is more clear from the box plots. Here you can see for all these 10 features, they are discriminative in nature, but they are not actually discriminative. They are not classified perfectly. So for that, actually, we have used machine learning techniques to map this into high dimensional space features that can be classified. So following classifiers are used to classify these two classes, healthy schizophrenia from EEG signals based on the 30 features, SVM with cubic kernel, SVM with quadrature, SVM with linear discriminant, nearest neighborhood classifier, decision classifier. Then performance parameters are evaluated based on accuracy, sensitivity, specificity, positive predictive value. So these 30 features actually they are selected based on a trial and error method. And then actually you can see in this table the performance parameter different classifier with best 30 features. So k-fold, 5-fold, 10-fold cross validation. And these classifiers like SVM with cubic, SVM with quadrature, SVM linear discriminant, k-nearest neighborhood, decision tree. And then accuracy, sensitivity, specificity, positive predictive value, area under ROC curve. So all, if you see this 10-fold cross validation actually gives you the better performance. That is actually a very one of the good thing that is with the 10-fold cross validation. Others are not actually that. So that and that performance, best performance, actually we have compared with other existing methods in the literature. So in this table, you can see researchers have applied various signal processing machine learning techniques, and our proposed multivariate filtering based approach together with this Hazzard features, they give you better performance, accuracy, sensitivity, specificity, area under ROC curve, PPB. That is actually compared with other existing methods, and we found this better performance. After that, we have studied actually this for motor imagery brain-computer interface application. So brain-computer interface actually is a state-of-art technology which aims to establish a direct communication path between brain and computer or external supporting device. So here you can see in this figure, this person has disability. He is not able to move this. He is not having this arm. So robot arm can be put here, and that can be controlled from the brain waves. So similar kind of thing, whatever we are doing with the imagination of the hand movement, that person doesn't have hand, so he just imagine left, right, up, down, or different like feet, tongue, all these movements are done. Based on that, EEG signals are generated that they will be classified, and according to that, the device will be controlled. and that operation can be carried out by the device, so that you can connect with the real life. And same thing actually we do for speech-based BCI. So instead of that, somebody is not able to speak, and then actually just imagine it. You are speaking A, you are speaking B, you are speaking E, I, O, U, and then actually you generate the EEG signal that will give you the control that will tell you what you are going to speak. So that is actually speech imagination based BCI. So this BCI is a cognitive process in which imagination of movement of any part of the body is performed without actually moving it, is known as motor imagery task. When you are doing for speech, then just you without any speaking it, you imagine it. So that is speech imaging BCI. And another new area of BCI is coming, that is visual cognition BCI. So you don't need to speak, just you have to see, and you are not able to see, then you have to just imagine it. And then according to that, EEG signals are recorded. So that actually a lot of applications where nicely it can be used to decode the information. And if you see Stephen Hawking's case, actually used to use BCI algorithms. So EEG signal recorded during an event of performing MI movement is termed as MI EEG, which are analyzed to detect the intention in EEG-based MI BCI. So there are various applications like medical, neuro, ergonomics and smart environment, neuromarketing and advertisement, education and self-regulation, games and entertainment, security and authentication. So for the study purpose, we have actually used this two databases, BCI completion for 2 dataset 1 and BCI completion third dataset 2. So we have used two databases to validate our proposed model for MI-BCI. BCI completion for 2A dataset 1, this EEG data from 9 different subjects who were imagining of left hand, right hand, both feet and tongue movements were collected. And 70 trials were recorded corresponding to each session. And so we have 2 sessions consisting of 288 trials, 72 plus 4, recorded from each subject on different days. One is used for the training the model and another is used for the evaluating the performance of the model. So EEG data recorded during from 22 different positions at sampling rate of 250 Hz. So here you can see this is a BCI paradigm that is used for the recording of the data. And these are the actual electrode positions of the 22 electrodes at different places. Then second database, that is BCI completion third dataset 2. So EEG data from 3 different subjects who were imagining of left hand, right hand, both feet and tongue movements were collected. 60 trials were recorded for each class. And EEG data were recorded using 60 channels at sampling rate of 250 Hz. So this is BCI paradigm, and there is the electrode actually positions. There are 60 channels for the recording of the data in this database. So we have proposed a multivariate filtering BCI, MIBC, that multivariate filtering based approach for motor imaginary BCI algorithm based on the this MIF-CSP concept. So which combine multivariate filtering and CSP filtering. So CSP filter actually features, they have a very special pattern. So they maximize the variance of the proposed signal corresponding to positive class and minimize sample negative class. And different special filters like small Laplacian, large Laplacian, common average reference, CSP are able to improve the spatial resolution of it. So due to that, actually people have explored CSP filters in BCI. And here you can see multi-channel EEG signal is taken. Then we perform training and testing. And multivariate filtering is used, decompose into 4 IMFs. They are multivariate in nature. Then CSV features are computed, and they are used in topological features and topological plot then of the brain. And then feature ranking and selection is done. Then we perform the training of the classifier. Then these 2 classes are classified. So EEG signals and 4 now you will see 4 IMFs. You can see they are used for this implementation of our proposed method. So 3 channels, C3, CZ, C4 EEG signals and the corresponding first, second, third, fourth IMFs, but they are in nature in multi-channel. So feature ranking classification, CSP features are ranked based on the p-value of S2 and t-test, and linear discriminant analysis LD classifier is used for the classification. So now we will see some results. So this classification accuracy in terms of percentage obtained for proposed method on BCI completion for 2 dataset. So 9 subjects are there. This is left hand, but left versus right hand, left hand versus feet, left hand versus tongue, right hand versus feet, right hand versus tongue, feet versus tongue. And here the accuracy number of features. Similarly, for all studied problems, you can see. And this is actually subject specific or subject dependent. Sometimes we do study subject independent also. So here you can see accuracy and the number of features required for all different classification problems. And standard deviation average also can be seen for subject dependent. Here we see classification accuracy in terms of percentage obtained for proposed method on BCI application, BCI completion study on the BCI completion third 30 data set. So here three subjects are there, and then you left hand, right, left hand, left versus right hand, left hand versus feet, left hand versus tongue, right hand versus feet, right hand versus tongue, feet versus tongue. So in all these accuracies, classification problems, for these subjects, dependent accuracies can be seen, a number of features also. Then it average standard deviation. Then subject independent study is done. So here, in all cases, you can see the accuracy and number of features. Then actually this brain is highly variable. A lot of EEG signals have a lot of variability. So the number of features play important also. Here you can see for the 9 subjects and their average accuracy is on, and how it changes with respect to features for each subject. For the different subjects, for 9 subjects, and for the different study problem, classification problem, like left versus right hand versus feet, left hand versus tongue, right hand versus feet, right hand versus tongue, and feet versus tongue. Then there are many methods in the literature for this study, for this completion database. And then this is actually performance of our proposed method MIF CSP for this left and right movement. And this MI task from BCI completion for 2 and you can see 9 subjects, their average standard deviation. And then we have compared with other methods in the literature. And this we have for 2 data set, we have compared other methods for this all like problem left hand L and F, like left hand that feet, left hand and tongue, right hand and feet, right hand and tongue, this feet and tongue, these problems. And you can see the most out of these study problem for the 3 problems, it is showing best performance, our proposed method compared to the existing methods in the literature. And remaining to it is comparable performance. So that is, we will bet our method actually when you say multi-channel signal processing, then actually it is a strong candidate for BCI application. And why only 4 IMFs are selected? So based on the topology plot of the brain, and this first 4 IMFs, they are showing the good discrimination. That is also clear from the features. And after 4th, 5th, you see there is a lot of overlapping in the features. So that based on this good separation between these features for these 2 classes, we have selected the first 4 features, first 4 IMFs for study purpose. There are many other methods like multivariate variational mode decomposition, multivariate empirical mode decomposition based MI-BCI, and we have compared our method with such other methods also. And in this plot, you can see for the studied classification problem, our method gives you better accuracy compared to the existing methods in the literature. So this is the conclusion of this talk. Proposed schizophrenia detection method based on the multivariate data filtering has shown significant improvement in accuracy over existing machine learning based algorithms, and similar performance like the deep learning based method. Deep learning based methods are computationally very expensive compared to machine learning based approach. And the proposed multivariate data filtering based framework extracts the oscillatory modes present in the signal adaptively without any previous assumptions of the fixed frequency bands. So the frequency bands are changing, rhythms are changing, our method can incorporate that change. Using spatial filtering techniques, CSP discriminant features are computed for classification. The proposed method outperforms the state-of-art methodology with the help of the MI-BCI EEG database, namely BCI completion for 2A. For showing the generality, we have also validated MIF-CSP using another publicly available database. And the superior accuracy provided by MIF-CSP algorithm proved that it is a promising candidate for MI-BCI application. One of the important feature actually of these methods, they can be implemented in the form of software. The software can be installed in the smartphone, in a smartphone will become really smart, and it can detect disease at any cell level. And also this BCI, it can assist the patients actually with low computational from real-time manner with the help of the software. So these computing devices also can be used for the BCI. So this talk is actually based on these two references. So I request participants you go through these two papers to have more information about the presented work. And thank you very much. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.